The story of Geralt and Yennefer is briefly explained in the in-game book The Last Wish. It is also explained in Priscilla's song.
The wish I whispered when it all began, did it forge a love you might never have found?
However, none truly grasp the sweet, romantic, and epic adventure shared by the two in what was their first encounter, and some might say their most important. And this all took place in the short story The Last Wish, which takes place at the end of the series of short stories called The Last Wish. It was one of the first books in the series. It was a series of short novels, and the last one was called The Last Wish. There's a lot of Last Wishes going around right now. Yeah, I know. And here we go. This is the story of Geralt and Yennefer. Our story begins with Geralt and Dandelion fishing so that they could catch something for breakfast. Instead of a fish, Dandelion fished out a jar with an ancient runes etched onto the lid. Dandelion believed inside was a jinn, a powerful entity that will fulfill the 3 wishes of the person that finds them. Dandelion, excited by the prospect, went to open the jar to cast his 3 wishes. Geralt, who knew the dangers of trying to summon an entity, attempted to stop him. After some hustling and bustling, the lid of the jar cracks open and a cloud of mist exits the jar and appears in front of them. Dandelion straightened himself and began to make the 3 wishes he believed he was entitled to. His first wish was for Valdo Marx, a rival bard, to die of a stroke. Yeah, even I thought that was a pretty dark wish. His second wish was for a count's daughter named Virginia, a woman who had previously scorned all of his advances, to fall in love with him. Bear in mind, Dandelion said all of this incredibly quickly, whilst Geralt angrily screamed at him to run away and to stop his foolishness. The mist was incredibly angry, so it grabbed the bard by the throat and crushed him to the ground, severely damaging the larynx.
Of course, Dandelion almost lost his voice that time.
Geralt used Ard to push the jinn back. At this point, the lid of the jar had fallen right next to him, so he picked it up, the jinn still right in front of him. The lid was etched in runes, and he saw a 9-pointed star carved onto the lid. The mist suddenly shot at Geralt to attack him. Geralt had no clue what to do, so he did what any clueless witcher would do, I guess. Geralt screamed out an exorcism that a priestess once taught him, without the faintest idea what any of it meant. The lid hissed and grew hot, and the jinn, without a second's thought, left Geralt and shot up the stream. Geralt went to help Dandelion, but he couldn't speak properly and was vomiting blood, so Geralt knew he had to find medical attention for him immediately, so they set off to the nearest village, which was Rind. They arrived at Rind and gained help from a small group of elves. One of them, called Círdan, told Geralt that Dandelion would regain speech but never sing again. Geralt, concerned for his friend, asked if there was anything they could do. One of the elves said that they would need a sorcerer who could apply a magical remedy. Geralt asked if there were any sorcerers or magic users in the town, and they told him of one, but someone who was hated in town but had asylum at the Lord's house. This person was, you guessed it, Gandalf the Grey. Alright, my crappy jokes aside, yeah, it was Yennefer of Vengerberg. It was late at night, and Geralt didn't have time to wait until morning, so he broke into the manor house using his sneaky seeks, despite the fact you can't crouch in any of the Witcher games. He reached the kitchen, where he found the lord of the house drunk, laying on the floor, and he mistook Geralt for one of the servants. He told him that the sorcerer was demanding juice, and that he had to deliver the juice immediately.
You're running out of juice.
I know. You might bring me some more once you're done training.
Geralt, being the fine gentleman he is, poured Yennefer some juice, and went off to find her. He found Yennefer brushing her hair, what else would she be doing, and gave her the juice. Without looking at him, she drank the juice. Geralt, as you could probably guess, was already admiring Yennefer's beauty, because you know, Geralt is just that kind of guy. Anyway, Yennefer turned to Geralt, immediately alarmed, demanding to know who he was. And what would you know, Geralt's first words to Yennefer was an incredibly sarcastic response, because that's totally out of character.
Oh, that famous sarcasm. I missed it.
After blocking a spell Yennefer threw at him, she realized he was a Witcher, so she decided to hear him out. Why, you may ask? Because Yennefer was already looking to use him. Geralt told Yennefer the entire story about the jinn, whilst Yennefer took a bath. As you can probably guess, Geralt continued to stare at Yennefer. Despite the fact she cast an invisibility spell, he stared at the traces that the water had made. Geralt told Yennefer about the incantation he used to send the jinn off. Yennefer asked him to repeat it, and when he did, she started to giggle. What Geralt had said wasn't an incantation, but a silly saying. What Geralt had actually said was, "Get out of here and go fuck yourself."
How lucky your exorcism saved it. It was poetic.
Yeah, how was I supposed to know that incantation meant begone and plow yourself?
You should have studied foreign languages.
Gonna keep bringing that up for the rest of my life.
Side note, the book and game interpret the phrase differently because it was originally written in Polish, so the translation is kind of got, there's a lot of ways you can look at it, to be honest, so just bear that in mind. Yennefer agreed to help Dandelion, but seemed fascinated by the jinn. After many hours treating him, Geralt entered the room the two were in and found that Yennefer had completely healed Dandelion. She then asked in return he gave her the seal from the bottle. Geralt, of course, obliged, and Yennefer then said she intended to keep Dandelion as part of her plan to capture the jinn. Geralt then made a massive speech, you know, as he does, about how Yennefer was using them. During of which, Yennefer took advantage of the fact Geralt was distracted and used a spell which basically hypnotized Geralt into doing whatever she wanted. Because you know, that's what Yennefer does. Geralt awoke from the spell in a jail cell with no recollection of what had just happened. The elves who had helped Geralt earlier were also there and told Geralt that he had beat up a pawnbroker who had openly insulted Yennefer previously. He then proceeded to find an apothecary's house, where he thrashed the apothecary publicly in front of heaps of people. He then proceeded to make a speech about how calling a woman a whore was wrong and was not very nice. Think what you want about what Yennefer just did. She certainly knows how to get revenge against the people who have wronged her. Geralt then went to find a priest who had insulted Yennefer many times in his sermons, but the building was completely guarded. It was at this point Geralt fainted, and him and his friends were arrested and thrown into jail awaiting trial. A guard came to the cell and started to mock them, telling them that they were all going to die, and whether they had any last wishes. Geralt stood up, looked him straight in the eye and said, "My wish is that you burst, you son of a whore." The guard went to thrash Geralt. Before he could do anything, he literally burst right in front of him. This completely confused everyone. Geralt and the elves were taken to the town hall where they received a trial, during of which the bard Dandelion came sprinting in, saying that Yennefer had fully cured him and said that she told him to come and say, "My wish is for you to believe the Witcher is not guilty for what occurred. That and no other is my wish." To give some insight as to why Yennefer did this, jinns are powerful entities and she wished to capture one for herself. However, she could only do so whilst it was not bound to anyone. Because she believed the jinn was bound to Dandelion, she got Dandelion to proclaim his last wish, which was for Geralt to be released from custody. She then used the lid she had got off Geralt to set a trap for the jinn. The jinn had no intention on being captured, so fought back and hovered above the city, destroying buildings in the once peaceful town of Rinda. Geralt and the group panicked and watched above as the jinn circled around the town, destroying everything. It was at this point Geralt had realized that the jinn wasn't bound to Dandelion. It was bound to him. Back when Geralt had yelled the incantation at the jinn, the reason the jinn flew away was what he had said was the first wish to the jinn. He said to the jinn, "Get out of here and go fuck yourself." The jinn literally fucked off because Geralt had told him to do so. That was his last wish. Then, when he was in jail and he told the ghast he wished that he would burst, that was the jinn once again fulfilling Geralt's wish. And Geralt now realized that he had one wish left. Not Dandelion. This was why the jinn was circling around Rinda. It couldn't leave because it was still tied to Geralt. Geralt went to find Yennefer, who at first basically told him to go away. Geralt followed her until the jinn and her were locked in a spell. Geralt dived after Yennefer and pushed her away. Geralt explained to her that she couldn't capture the jinn, and trying to was useless because Geralt was the one it was bound to. But when he makes his last wish, the jinn would kill Yennefer for trying to capture him, and that Yennefer was too weak to stop the jinn. Yennefer begged Geralt to make any wish. As if he didn't, the entire town would be destroyed by the jinn. Geralt looked into Yennefer's eyes and saw what she really was before. Once again, I need to give insight because that phrase actually makes no sense to you, so let me just quickly explain. You ever noticed that in the world of The Witcher, all of the sorceresses are unrealistically beautiful? Well, there is actually an explanation for this. You see, when a peasant family gives birth to a daughter, they have but one objective: to marry her off to some richer man. In some cases, the daughters are so ugly that they don't believe any man would want to marry her. So they give the girls away to the schools of magic and never see them again. Yes, that's right, all sorceresses started off as incredibly ugly women. Yeah, kinda sexist, I know. Over the years, they use spells and illusions to make themselves unrealistically gorgeous. When Geralt looked into Yennefer's eyes, he saw the cold, penetrating eyes of a hunchback. Yes, that's right, Yennefer was a hunchback. Yeah, let that sink in. He realized that even though he knew this, he was still in love with her for some reason. So his wish was for Geralt and Yennefer to be bound by love forever.
Of course. Your last wish effectively assured it.
My wish was about us being together always, not about you mocking my every mistake.
The jinn was now free, and didn't go to kill Yennefer because that would be completely breaking the wish Geralt had just made. So instead, it flew off. Yennefer said to Geralt that she didn't know if a wish like that could be granted. It was here that Geralt called Yennefer Yen, something no one had ever said to her before, and that she loved it.
I love you, Yen.
And I love you.
From that point onwards, the two loved each other for the rest of their lives. They broke up many times, argued, fought, and at times felt that they hated each other. But they always came back together in one way or another. And that's the story of Geralt's last wish.